Tales from the Americas. The Golden Altar of the Church of St. Joseph, from Panama. In the Church of St. Joseph, in the city of Panama, there is a golden altar more than 3 centuries old. It is more ancient than the church in which it stands, having survived the brigandage of the pirate Henry Morgan and the fire that destroyed the original city of Panama. 300 years ago, the altar stood in another church of St. Joseph. Word came to the city that the ship of Henry Morgan was on its way to loot the city of its treasures. The priests and brothers of the churches were advised to hide anything of value. But in the church of St. Joseph there was a problem. The beautiful golden altar was too large to hide anywhere. At last, one of the brothers had an idea. He suggested that the altar should be painted and camouflaged to appear as a worthless object. With the help of some of the people of Panama, the priests and brothers collected clay and herbs, and out of these things they made a crude kind of paint. Even as Henry Morgan was sailing into the harbor, they began to apply their paint to the golden altar. They worked all night and finished only as the sun was rising. In the first light of morning, Henry Morgan's buccaneers came ashore, and it was only a matter of minutes before they were beating on the doors of the Church of St. Joseph. When they entered the church, they went from room to room, but found nothing of value. No money, no objects of silver or gold. Henry Morgan himself stood before the altar, and he saw an old priest, undisturbed by their invasion, touching up the altar with a little paint. "That is a strange and ugly paint you are using," Henry Morgan said. "Why do you not use oil paint?" The old priest stopped his work long enough to reply to the pirate. "We are but a poor parish," he said. "We do not have money for such luxuries. The paint we are using was made with our own hands out of the very earth of Panama." Then, it is said, Henry Morgan did an astonishing thing. He reached into his pocket and brought out a handful of silver, which he gave to the priest. "Take this," he said, "and buy oil paint for the church." When Henry Morgan and his men had left the church, the priest, the brothers, and the townspeople fell on their knees and thanked God for saving their altar. But the pirates continued to seek their loot elsewhere in the city, and that night, as they retired to their ship, they put the city to the torch. The fire spread in all directions. It became a raging inferno. People fled for safety where they could. From the tower of the Church of St. Joseph, the priests could see the approaching flames. There was nothing to do. They simply waited and prayed that the fire would burn itself out before it reached the church. When at last there was no further hope that the church would be spared, they placed a statue of St. Joseph on the golden altar, and, carrying what they could, left. The fire set by the Henry Morgan burned down most of the old city of Panama. When its fury was over, people came back to find smoldering ruins. They found that the Church of St. Joseph had been partially destroyed, but the golden altar, covered with the crude and ugly paint made of earth, was untouched by the flames. When at last the new Church of St. Joseph was built, the golden altar was placed in it, and there it remains to this day.